and then with the kick you will get that nice pumpy feel.
We came to get lost in a feeling. We leave our senses behind. We came to get high with no ceiling.
Good morning guys, welcome to the studio. Yes, we still don't have proper coffee cups. But I still absolutely love seeing how the milk and the coffee is mixing. It just looks so cool. And speaking of mixing, today sitting in the studio, making music, mixing a new song, the second one with Frankie actually. It's more an uplifting club, progressive influence song. I've already showed that one to you. You've been part of the recording session downstairs in the B studio. And today it's mostly mixing, editing the vocals, which is totally boring, so we will just stick to mixing the main synthesizer sound. Layering, EQing, compression, and all of the fine details to actually get a lead sound that doesn't sound like a preset, that doesn't sound like a stock thing, maybe has a little bit of its own style, stands out, and still sounds cool and punchy. And to achieve all of that, there is a lot of work involved. But yeah, let's just get started. We first need to talk about like one very simple concept, because it's important that you understand it and follow it. Otherwise, it will just sound like shit. This doesn't only apply to your lead synthesizer sound, stacking, layering, also to the entire mixing process and onto a million of other things in life. So just imagine cooking. Usually you take like one piece of recipe that is like the star of the dish. So if you want to make a steak, it's of course the meat. And then you just make sure that everything around it just supports that main thing. So for synthesizer, pick one sound that is like as close as possible to what you actually want to achieve, and then add slight things to it. Add a little bit, layer a tiny bit to it, maybe just a supporting layer. If you try to layer multiple main lead kind of sounds, they will 100% clash, and for the listener it's not really audible which one of them is actually like the main thing. It's like mixing colors. If you put everything in there, it's just brown. No one likes brown. So get your one main lead sound, make sure it's something you like. Probably you're already working on a song that has a main lead synthesizer sound, and now it's all about what to add to it, how to add to it to make it shine. And really think about that. Don't try to make too many things the main thing. Same for mixing a song. If you have, for example, a guitar, a piano, a voice, and all of them are playing at the same time and try to be the main thing, there is no way you can mix that. So dial down the piano, maybe EQ the frequencies out of it, make room for the vocal, put the guitar to the sides to have room in the middle again for the vocal, and then you will have a song that sounds nice and just works. And if you follow this principle, mixing will be a lot easier, making lead sounds, layering, and again, basically everything. But now let's actually maybe go to the sweet spot. I just love this place right here because the nice color and it's really comfortable. And I still don't really have a main desk at the sweet spot, but that's where I can listen to music and show you in Logic what I do to my lead synthesizer sound of this upcoming release.
We came to get high with no ceiling. We just losing track of time.
It's kind of funny, like really expensive speakers and the cheapest IKEA desk, but working on it. I'm like planning what to do, what to build, but it might take 1 or 2 more months. I'm like really all done with constructing stuff. The studio sounds so far usable and finished. So let me give you the full audio example, show you the entire production, and also show you what I've chosen as the main synthesizer sound while we were doing the session. I already had the direction in mind, doing an old school classic progressive house influenced song. That's the main sound, the main chord progression. It's like a classic progressive thing. Opening, closing the cutoff. I absolutely love that. But I wanted it to feel a little more modern because this was done by that mouse and a lot of other people like 8 to 10 years ago. I wanted to twist it a little bit up and give it more bite, more character, go a little bit more into like a festival situation without ending up with like big room. So I started playing around with a couple of other synthesizer sounds, just playing the same chords. For example, this one right here, just to have like the top end covered. To have something that is very airy, has a lot of delays, very spread out, just to give it like more of a dimension. It's really just a supporting sound. It has less attack, it has less of the bottom part, and it's also EQ'd in a way to work with the main sound, cutting away the low frequencies. I could even cut a little bit more into the sound, because when both of them are playing, you can't actually hear that lower part on the higher sound. And then I've mixed like 2 sounds in it that are a little weird actually. It's like a heavily distorted, weird, moving, ravey sound that I absolutely love. It really gives like the subtle chords with that more pluggy kind of sound, a little more of that bite. And since I wanted to have even more, but throughout all of the frequencies, I doubled that layer and have the same sound just playing in a different octave. So that's the lower one with the top one together. And then with the main sound. It's really subtle in there, and once you hear the entire song in the mix, it's even more in the background, but you can definitely feel when it's gone. And that's 100% what supporting synthesizer layers should actually do. Like, you feel them, you hear them once they're gone, and when they're on, they don't bother too much. But there's another layer that is actually a little bit more in the foreground. Also like actually not that nice sound to go with that really nice chord progressive sound. Give it more bite, more character, more stereo. Because if you would now start adding a delay to the low chords, this would just muddy up the mix. So I try to put the effects on the higher layers usually. So let's listen to all of them together. So that's the bass sound with all of those 5 layers combined. In the second chorus and also in the third chorus, if there will be a third chorus, I was thinking about increasing the ravey parts and volume just to have like this escalating progressive kind of feel to this track. So really when you do these kind of things, think about what your main sound is missing and try to add that in a subtle way. Usually less is more, as you know. And if it doesn't work at all, then maybe just go for another main sound, because trying to fix it is sometimes harder than just trying to find a new one. Just go through a couple of presets and I'm sure you will find something pretty fast. And also always listen to your presets in the mix, like with the drums and maybe the vocals or whatever else is playing at the same time. You will be astounded like how different sounds can sound like when they're in the mix, when they're played solo. Usually solo, they need to be a little bit boring, and a lot of presets have way too many effects on them because they're meant to sound extremely good for you when going through those presets, usually solo. But a good sound is a little bit more subtle in the background, less effects to actually work in a mix and not on its own. But let's actually get to the EQing part. So the main sound should have like the main part of the frequencies. I've only cut it away like the very low frequencies of it to make room for the kick and bass, of course. And then the supporting sounds are cut a little bit differently, like way more getting rid of the low end and boosting certain frequencies. But be careful to not boost the ones that are resonating. For example, here on the first ravey sound, the top one, I decided to cut away a couple of the high frequencies to make it not too harsh, and also still leave room for like maybe a pad or some hi-hats to not make them clash, just because I wanted to have something in there with a little bit more bite. Then when you're done with the EQing and you got like a general sound that sounds good together, it totally makes sense to put all of them into one group, maybe compress them, but just slightly to make them sound more together. With the reverb, you have to be really careful. If you have reverb on all of them, or if you just use the presets and they come with reverb, this adds up to a big mess. So you definitely need to turn off the reverb on a couple of these sounds or dial it down, and make sure that usually the main sound, the one that is most audible, gets the most part of the reverb to be placed in the mix correctly. The rest is just really for the character. Same applies to distortion, delay. Be extremely careful. If you have different delays on different sounds with different timings, this can get messy quite fast. And then what I've done actually separately, but you can also do it in the group, is of course sidechaining, glues everything even more together, and then with the kick you will get that nice pumpy feel. Then of course you get the bass, the only thing missing in this part. And later on, and that's what I have to do for the rest of the day, is like mixing the vocals in there. It's still a big mess with the vocals. They're all not leveled, all not corrected, all not really calmed. I still have like takes with like 8 to 12 where I just have to cut out everything. So yeah, let me do that.